This is Enrich for the women who dare to build something richer on their own terms. I'm your host, Rana. Few weeks ago, I invited a group of women for dinner, and all of those women have built something real. And I mean real businesses. No titles were announced. We were just sharing a different level of thinking. By the time the evening ended, I had 3 ideas I would not have had without these conversations. And I could feel the ceiling in my own thinking lift, not shift, lift. And there's a huge difference between those two. That is what happens when you are in the right room. And today we will talk about how to find those rooms and how to know when you need to leave one. I'm Rana Sabra, global marketing strategist and behavioral scientist. This is Enrich, the show that refuses to make a choose between the revenue and the life you built it for. This episode is about the rooms you are in, the communities, the peer groups, the masterminds, the dinner tables, the circles you spend time in, and the specific, measurable, behavioral way those rooms are setting your ceiling right now without you even knowing it. How scary is that? By the end of this episode, I'm going to give you 3 questions to run on every professional room in your life. And by the time this episode ends, you will have 2 clear decisions to make. So get your pens and papers ready, a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. This one will move the needle in your business. Tell me if this is close. You are in some rooms that feel comfortable, warm, safe. You know the people. They know you. The conversations are pleasant. They're supportive, familiar. And then you just realize, if you're honest with yourself, that you have been in those rooms having roughly the same conversation for the last 2 to 3 years. You are well liked. You are respected. But nothing much is shifting in your personal development or in your business. And then you have an experience at a conference, at a dinner, on a call with someone new, where the quality of thinking is just different, where you leave with ideas you did not have before, where you feel yourself expand rather than simply feel good. And you realize, in contrast, what the other rooms have not been giving you. The rooms you are in are not neutral. They are active. And that is so scary. They're either raising your ceiling or confirming it without us auditing them, without us even noticing it. And here's the thing about being in rooms that are too comfortable. It does not feel like a problem. That is what makes it so expensive. You're not suffering in a bad room. You're just not growing in it. And because it feels okay, because the people are good, the conversations are kind, you just stay. You don't examine whether the room is still serving you. You do not ask whether the level of thinking around you is still a match to the level you are building towards. And then you wonder why your thinking feels a little circular, let's call it. Why your business strategies feel so familiar. Why the most exciting conversations you have are the ones happening outside of your regular circles. That familiar conclusions, the strategies that feel stale, those come from the rooms. Change the room and the thinking changes with it. I know that there is hesitation underneath this conversation. You're worried about seeming disloyal, about leaving rooms that have been good to you, and people who care about you, about being perceived as someone who thinks she's above where she came from. Trust me, I know this feeling. I've been there. But I want you to separate 2 things that often get tangled together. The rooms that are no longer serving your growth and the people in them are not the same thing. You can care deeply about people and still recognize that certain container is no longer where your growth lives. Those are not the same decision. And I know what you dream about. You dream of a room where the ambient level of thinking is just slightly above where you are, where you have to stretch a little to keep up, where the conversations make you go home and implement things, where the referrals are precise and the peer accountability is just real, where being in the room raises your game just by proximity. Those rooms exist. And if the room does not exist in the form you need it, build it. Simply build it. I have done that multiple times, and I will keep on doing it every time I outgrow a room. Before I go into the audit, one thing I want to name: the rooms you are in directly affect how you think about your positioning, your pricing, the standard you hold for your business, the way you're marketing your business, the way you're selling your business, and so on. If any of those feel stuck right now, the Marketing Clarity Audit at renasabra.com will help you identify where the actual gap is. It's for free. It's 10 questions. It will take you maybe 5 minutes or less. So it's renasabra.com/quiz. Take it today. Let me tell you something that leadership and self-development world says correctly, constantly, but rarely explains the deep reasoning behind it. The people around you calibrate what you believe is achievable, not through advice, not through motivation, through presence, through the simple neurological fact of repeated exposure to a different level of reality than your current one. When the woman sitting next to you has built what you have been quietly telling yourself, it's in the next 2 to 3 years for me. Your internal model of what is normal just updates, not consciously, but through exposure. The mere exposure effect, this is the name of it, has been documented by behavioral scientists for years. And it shows that familiarity with something increases your positive effect towards it. That principle applies in income level, business models, and what counts as a reasonable ambition. So even the way you start selling your business becomes different. When the average standard of a room is higher than where you currently are, stop asking whether that standard is achievable. You start asking, how do I get there? That is completely different mindset. And it changes everything about what you do, what you decide, how quickly you decide it, and how seriously you take yourself. This is why the quality of the rooms matter more than the volume of your efforts at certain stages of growth. Effort cannot break a ceiling you do not know exists. The room is the thing that makes that ceiling visible to you. I want to give you an audit you can run right now on every room in your professional life. 3 questions, but you have to be very honest with yourself as you go through them. The first question: does this room raise my standard or confirm my current one? There is a specific difference between a room that challenges you and a room that validates you. Both would feel good, but only one grows you. If you are constantly the most accomplished, the most strategic, the most experienced person in a given room, that room is confirming your ceiling. It's not raising it. Validation is not the same as growth. And the room that only ever confirms where you are is functionally a ceiling. The second question: do the people in this room know things I do not know yet? Not just more things, but different things. Perspectives that have not occurred to you. Approaches to problems you have been solving the same way year after year after year. Market realities you do not have visibility into from where you are sitting. Are you encountering genuinely new thinking in this room? Or are you in a loop of familiar ideas arriving at familiar conclusions? Both can feel stimulating, but only one expands you. And the third question, which is the most important question: does the level of thinking in this room makes me feel expanded or comfortable? Write that one down and sit with it. Comfort in a room is not the good sign it feels like. Comfort in a room means the room is no longer ahead of you. It does not mean the people are not good, or that they're not warm, or they're not worth caring about. It just means you have outgrown that specific container. And those are two completely different things. Confusing them is what keeps women in rooms they should have moved beyond 2 years ago. Let me be specific about what I mean by upgrading the room, because I hear this word used in ways that are either too snobbish or unrealistic. Upgrading does not mean abandoning anyone. It does not mean chasing the most expensive mastermind you can find or spending money so you don't have to buy proximity to people who earn more. It means deliberate curation. It means asking one specific question. Where are the three women, just three women, at the level I'm building toward? And what is one genuine step towards proximity to those conversations? Sometimes that is a mastermind. Sometimes it's a conference where the speakers are people you are learning from. Sometimes it's a dinner that does not yet exist and you have to create it, just like I did a few weeks ago. Sometimes it's one email to one woman whose thinking consistently expands yours, asking for a real conversation. The method is far less important than the intention behind it. And the intention we're setting right now is that I'm going to spend the next 12 months in rooms that require me to grow, to keep up with the thinking in them. That one intention, applied consistently, changes the trajectory faster than almost anything else I have seen. No marketing strategy can save you if you still have that ceiling for your thinking. So the harder conversation is, how do we step back from rooms that are not serving us? Because some rooms cost more energy than they return in thinking. The groups where the conversation reliably circles the same problems without resolution. The spaces where the energy is pity rather than building. The circles where the average standard of ambition is lower than where you are genuinely headed. And I want to say this carefully, because I know this is where the guilt lives, especially for women. Stepping back is simply being honest about the exchange. You do not make a declaration. You do not burn bridges or anything. You reallocate your attention towards the room that requires more of you. Growth sometimes looks like a quiet exit. I'm going to share something personal. The past year, with the war and everything happening in the world, I slowed down the business and I worked on personal growth and checked again on what exactly I want from life. I wanted to know what I wanted from life. I didn't want to just be living life. I had a decision to make about how to celebrate my birthday. It's my big 45th birthday. And what I wanted was clearly not a party. What I wanted was a room. So I did something that scared me a little. I invited a group of women I deeply admire, women I look up to, women who are building at a level I aspire to. And I brought them together in one room to celebrate. I could have waited to be invited into rooms like that, because that's what most of us do. We wait for the invitation. We wait for the credentials. We wait for the moment we feel we have earned our seat. Instead, I built the table and set the seats myself. And what happened in that room confirmed everything I believed about this work. The quality of the conversation you are in determines the quality of the thinking you produce. Not because you imitate the people around you, but because the room sets a standard and you rise to meet it. I left my own birthday with a sharper thinking than I walked in with. And I got a bonus of launching this podcast. And this is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is how human performance actually works. And I want to tell you something about why we should be building rooms. Sometimes we're looking for a specific kind of conversations. I've been for years looking for women who built something serious, but at the same time, they're culturally exposed, they're diverse, and they're not performing expertise, but they're actually using it. And I kept finding pieces of it in different places without it being consistently available in one container. And every time I talked about my need for that, I hear everyone around me saying that what I am seeking is a room filled with unicorns that do not exist in actual life. When I finally sat at a table that had all of those things at once a few weeks ago, I understood something I had intellectually known but not fully yet felt. The quality of my conversation determines the quality of the thinking that I'm producing. And this is not an inspiration talk. This is how human performance actually works. So before this episode ends, 2 decisions. Name them and write them down. Which room you will step back from. Not dramatically, not publicly, but honestly. The room that is consistently confirming where you are rather than raising it. Which one is it? And which room are you going to move towards? The one with the conversation you're not in yet. The one with a woman building at the level you are building towards. What is that room? Does it exist, or are you going to build it? And what is one specific step in its direction this week? You don't have to act on both today. The decision is the first step, so just name it. And finally, the women who audit the rooms, the women who audit the rooms and who ask these questions honestly and act on the answers are not the ones who are dissatisfied with their lives. They are the ones who are building seriously. The dissatisfied stay in the wrong rooms and complain about the ceiling. The serious ones, they change the rooms. You are in the second category. I know that because you are here. You're having this conversation, you're taking notes, you're thinking about this seriously. That kind of behavior is what separates founders who actually shift from the ones who keep circling. The ceiling you are feeling is the accumulated standard of the rooms you have been in. Rooms are changeable. The ceiling moves when you do. So go find your next room. The Global Business Women will have the doors open for a new group of women in December. So keep an eye on that. We would love to welcome you. And if you want to understand where the actual business bottleneck is before you start making big changes to your circles and your strategy, the Marketing Clarity Audit is free at renasabra.com. It's 10 questions. It's not going to take you long, but it gives you a clear diagnosis you can work from. So the ceiling moves when the rooms do, and I will talk to you next week.